Okay, so I can't find anything new, but I've also been swamped and backlogged for a really long while. Case in point, I've had both of these figures since the beginning of March. I got them the same day I got Legacy Tarn. It's really been that long since I could have reviewed these. Part of the reason I haven't covered these is because so much in general has come out this year. Like, when was the last time I even reviewed a third-party or Masterpiece figure? But part of it is also just that I put them on the back of a shelf, so I kept forgetting that I even had them. Every now and then I'd see these sitting there or find copies at stores and go, oh yeah, I need to review these already. Then I'd either immediately forget again or get something way more important to review quickly like the Nemesis, and forget again after that. So I resolved to finally do these today, and I still almost forgot. And that was all on Sunday because I had to postpone it anyways due to PulseCon. So before I just never cover these two, let's review these motorcycle boys. But first, your likes! Please give. And if you enjoyed this video by the end and you aren't subscribed already, please consider it. It's Legacy Crashbar and Prowl. And I have to hand it to Hasbro. It's really impressive how they've managed to make several motorcycle bots over the last year or two and still had them be distinct. I mean, sure, RC isn't exactly a winner. I personally won't say that figure is terrible, but it was only acceptable once. Then you got these two, and they just couldn't be more different. I mean, Prowl is about as unique as a blatantly obvious Armada Sideways pre-tool can be, and I know me saying that is going to piss off one of you in particular, but remember, it's not about what makes perfect sense, it's about what Hasbro is willing to retool something into, and we've seen what they're willing to do. Hell, right now, they are doing a regular Inferno into an ad hoc scavenger that's utterly the wrong color, and the only thing those two designs share is a head and the fact that they both had ant alternate modes. Also, technically they were supposed to be the same character, but that's beside the point. The toy it's getting isn't even 5% like it's supposed to be. Here, he's got sideways his chest, his crotch, and he's got basically the exact wings off the movie version of the character. I don't even see how this is a debate. Oh, also, the figure just looks great. I am on record for despising the way the animated designs look. It's a good show. I like the story and the characters. I just hate having eyes while watching it. It was ugly beyond belief and animated at a painfully low frame rate. But this figure captures the spirit of the designs from that series while looking like it belongs almost perfectly on a modern chug shelf. It finds an excellent happy middle ground between the two aesthetics, updating it to a more proportional, less bizarre build, and also giving it big poofy pants. This guy now actually looks kind of stylish. For the most part in the show, he looks like a beatnik in a turtleneck, which was lame and suck. Like an even uglier Andy Warhol. However, this thing looks cool. It's nowhere near as big a departure as the Bulkhead, but once again, Legacy has made me like an animated design. Even mostly the head. The chin is still awful. This would look a lot cooler with a face where the mouth wasn't crammed up his nasal cavity, but it does look better while retaining the spirit of the character. Hilariously though, I think this just looks like someone else's head from animated more so than it does a chug one. Crashbar brings a whole different energy. Rare that you get an asymmetrical bot mode, even if it is just in his legs. The other Junkions aren't even really doing that. He is seriously giving off that whole Mongolian of the highway vibe in a way that I don't think really translates to anyone born after 2008. Like, is this still a thing? Because I don't see it anymore. For me, it evokes thoughts of open deserts and guys swinging heavy chains at each other's faces while in high-speed combat. Basically, the way this guy looks makes me think of good 80s movies. And by good 80s movies, I mean amazingly shitty ones that only I like. So I can't help but want to throw the devil's horns while looking at him. And I think the mismatched nature of his legs gives him the impression that he is a junkyard come to life, more than most of the other Junkions, who seem kind of like rat-rotted bikes and trucks, but weren't cobbled together out of disparate parts. I'm just super here for everything this guy is bringing to the table. Even the shitty flame paint on his legs looks perfect. Real talk. This is not actually a cool design to put on your car. This doesn't look like fire, it looks like what a 5-year-old thinks fire looks like. But hey, that just makes him kitschy, and that's why I love him. Paint is overall very good. I love what they're doing with his chest. It feels abnormally Transformers-y, which might sound stupid since I'm talking about a Transformers figure, but I just feel like recent designs have all simplified this aspect of the characters. It's never this intricate anymore. Head makes me mourn Lemmy Kilmeister. Wreck-Gar is awesome and all, but I don't know if there's ever been a better Junkion head than this. It's got the shades, it's got the stash, it's got the horns. All he needs now is a beer and some smokes. Maybe a cigar. It's got the head vent, which isn't really a Junkion thing so much, but it is a very Transformers thing. Look, maybe it's the fact that I just woke up while writing this, but this dude's whole vibe sets my mind ablaze. I love looking at him, but I can see why others may feel less inspired. I have a brain rotted by growing up on TV that was up to 40 years out of date by the time I was born. I'm honestly the perfect audience for a Junkion figure. We both have terminal bad TV addiction. So honestly, both of these figures look excellent, which is sadly something I can't say for Legacy RC. She looks like a squashed version of the show model with too much kibble and hips mounted at her taint. However, these guys look badass. Both of them bringing a completely different flavor of motorcycle bro, and I am loving it. Prowl took something that needed fixing and did pretty much the best I could hope for, and Crashbar took something that was already cool and just lived up to it more than I thought it would. As for accessories, Crashbar gets some bullshit. I legitimately don't know what these are supposed to be on the alt mode. I think they might be subwoofers, but maybe they're supposed to be storage containers. But hilariously, even though I can't tell what these are supposed to be in alt mode, what they look least like is guns. He also gets his mufflers. I mean, they kind of look like tire irons or something, but they're not exactly threatening weapons. He also has one of his wheels come off and turn into a giant ninja star, with an auto-transforming gimmick that works perfectly. Prowl, on the other hand, gets something both very good and very bad. On the one hand, they are also these cool self-transforming bladed yo-yos just like Crashbars, which is very fun to mess around with and are what he had in the show. On the other hand, they're kind of silly big, and the auto-transforming mechanism doesn't work that well, unlike Crashbars. One or two of the blades on each will get stuck, so you have to force them, which causes my balls to retract up into my body each time I have to do it, because I feel like I'm gonna break the thing every time I have to. Plus, without these, his legs look incomplete. Also, he only has one hand designed to hold these, which is both a good idea, but also it means that he can neither wield both at the same time effectively, nor can he dual wield anything else. So for Crashbar, most of the stuff he gets is kinda lame. And for Prowl, what he gets is good, but flawed and compromising in a weird way. As for posability, both these guys are excellent. Extreme head tilt up, solid down, excellent side to side, and rotation on Prowl. Huge tilt up, decent down, solid side to side, and rotation on Crashbar. Shoulders pull a 90 on Prowl, shoulders pull slightly less than a 90 on Crashbar. And he's got backwards butterfly. Normal 90 elbows, maximum elbows. Narcissa wrists, wrist swiv, Prowl has a small ab crunch, and his hips are excessively unimpeded in all directions. Same with Crashbar, though you may accidentally take off his lower leg while trying. Prowl has one knee on each leg that goes 90, and a second knee below that lets you fake a maximum. But he also goes the other way to work like a massive tilt up. Crashbar inherently only goes like a 45, but then you can untransform it for a 90 and untransform it more for an extreme knee. Massive toe down on Prowl with a very minor rocker. Crashbar has an extreme toe up and a solid rocker, as well as a huge toe down on only one of his feet. So both of these are weirdly similar, and both are in the higher echelons of posing. Prowl tends to move a little better in most of his joints, while Crashbar has an instance where he's extremely better, and both have at least one specialty joint. I'd say Prowl moves just slightly superior, but neither of these guys has much to complain about. Now, transformation on both of these is kind of not great. Unlike his boy Scraphook, Crashbar does require a small amount of parts forming to transform, unless you just feel like leaving off 4 separate pieces altogether, which is an option, so I can't fault it too much for that. But after that, it's overall just extremely underwhelming. Like, he basically curls his torso into a ball, does a headstand, and then the split's hard enough to rip something, and that's really it. And while that might lead to a good Friday night, it's not what I'd call a good transformation. I will say that the way that one of his feet works is really cool, and that may just be the most violent case of damning with faint praise to ever be uttered by a human. The best part of the transformation is the way that one of his feet works. And then Prowl is more inventive, it's more interesting, and it's also a monstrous pain in the dick. The clearances are awful. It's incredibly easy to forget which way the legs go. Some of the transformation is really just pretending to do anything. Some of it can be charitably described as noodle-like. And there are parts where you have to scrape plastic past painted clear plastic, which has a tendency to depaint the figure. Basically, the first half is pretty cool, and then the second is just a mess of about every possible problem you could fit into one toy. Doing everything below this line is just miserable. Clever, but pain. However, the end result of Crashbar's nothing transformation and Prowl's schizophrenic one are two pretty good-looking motorcycles. Despite Crashbar doing a lot less, he winds up looking a fair bit more realistic. Though, hilariously, he doesn't need a kickstand because he just rests on his engine. But this really does just look like a dirt bike, with the engine of a car crammed in it, and the whole grill and bumper section too. Prowl, on the other hand, has some issues. There's a gap right under the fuel tank that shouldn't be there. This section here vaguely resembles what a motorcycle looks like if you've only ever seen one once. It's a pain in the ass to get the kickstand to hold the bike up. If you transform this even a little wrong, which is way more doable than it should be, it gets nowhere near the ground. It's vibrating with the desire to explode, and I am this close to clipping off some clear plastic. This does resemble his alt mode in the show, it's just that apparently his OG toy did a better job and looked more like a real vehicle, despite having that cartoony-ass robot mode no less. It's still a pretty stylish alt mode, and it would roll pretty good, but for some reason trying to causes the shuriken to deploy, which locks the wheel up. This is solid enough, but it's hampered by an unnecessarily frustrating transformation. On the other hand, Crashbar's alt mode looks better, cleaner, is easier to get another figure to use, and has the added benefit that despite being a motorcycle, it doesn't fall over when you roll it and let go. So both of these are really pretty excellent figures, marred with really pretty underwhelming transformations. Both look great in robot mode. I'm honestly impressed with how much they managed to make me like the look of a Prowl, and Crashbar was basically just made for me. Both of these figures pose fantastically. Both have decent accessories that are trying to be extra cool, but aren't hitting the mark as well as they could be. Both have pretty good alt modes, with one of them being better, but man, one of these transformations is just crap. You can do it smoothly, but you can't reliably do it smoothly. However, I don't think that's bad enough to hurt my recommendation for the figure. Both of these are worth having in your collection. It's just that they both could have been complete and total home runs that were fired out of a tank cannon, and instead it was just a regular pitching machine. Still, both are excellent, or bordering on excellent, and I don't know that I can call them micro masterpieces considering that one was intentionally made to look wrong, and the other doesn't have a source to be accurate to. But if you answered micro masterpieces, I wouldn't say that you're wrong. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.